What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video with your host, as always, K-Mac time. Now, with all the Star Wars hype for the movies, the games, and the toys coming out, I thought what better time to do a facts you didn't know about Star Wars. So let's go ahead and jump right into this list. The actor who played Obi-Wan Kenobi, Alec Guinness, thought the Star Wars films as, quote, fairy tale rubbish when he first read the script. It was also in Alec Guinness's original contract that he was to earn 2% of the gross box office receipts for the movies he would appear in, earning him over $95 million to date. On the contrary, Harrison Ford was only paid $10,000 for his performance in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. Peter Cushing, who played Grand Moff Tarkin, found his costume boots so uncomfortable that he wore slippers during many of the scenes, and insisted that his feet were just never in the shots. The sound of the TIE Fighter engine is actually the sound of an elephant call mixed with the sounds of a car driving on wet pavement. Steven Spielberg made a bet with George Lucas for a percentage of the Star Wars films, which has earned him millions of dollars since winning that bet. While shooting the famous scene in the trash compactor, Mark Hamill held his breath for so long that he actually burst a blood vessel on the side of his face. They had to readjust the framing while shooting the rest of the scene as to avoid showing the blemish. Many of the buildings constructed to be used in the shots of Tatooine are still standing in Tunisia. In fact, some of them are still used by locals. Dennis Lawson, who plays Wedge Antilles, is actually Ewan McGregor's uncle. Luke Skywalker was originally going to be named Luke Star Killer, and retained that name up until the film began shooting. The starship that became the blockade runner seen at the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope was the original design for the Millennium Falcon. It was redesigned because it was considered to be too close to Space 1999's Eagle ship. The Jawa language is based upon a sped-up version of the Zulu language in real life. And the language Greedo speaks is actually a South American language called Quechua. The bounty hunter Booth's clothing is actually a recycled space suit from a Doctor Who episode. Though Yoda is a very important character in many of the movies, his species has never been named in any of the canon movies. Mark Hamill was actually in a bad car accident right before he started filming Star Wars Episode 5: The Empire Strikes Back. This caused severe facial trauma. The scene in which Luke Skywalker is mauled by a wampa was actually added to account for the scarring on his face. George Lucas actually planned to have Yoda be played by a monkey wearing a mask and carrying a cane. During the evacuation of Cloud City, you see an extra running with what appears to be an ice cream maker. The extra has since been given an elaborate backstory by fans, and the supposed ice cream maker is meant to be a database of contacts within the rebellion. The word Ewok is never actually said out loud in any of the Star Wars movies by any of the characters. Luke's lightsaber in Episode 6: Return of the Jedi was originally going to be blue to match the lightsaber he lost in the previous film, but George Lucas was worried that it would confuse the audience and thought a green lightsaber would work better, so he made the change last minute. At one point, Star Wars Episode 6: Return of the Jedi was actually going to be called Revenge of the Jedi, and there are actually trailers and posters produced with the original title. In fact, the producers of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan changed the name of their film from, quote, Revenge of the Khan to avoid confusion between the two films. The bounty hunter droid IG-88 was actually built from recycled film props. His head is a drink dispenser from the cantina scene in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. 3 of the aliens seen in Jabba's barge in Episode 6 are named Klaatu, Barada, and Nikto. Their names are referenced in Army of Darkness as the words one must say to destroy the Book of the Dead. The names themselves are references to the words that must be spoken to shut down the robot in the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. While filming Episode 6: Return of the Jedi, the code name for the project was Blue Harvest, which was supposed to be a horror film with the tagline, quote, Horror Beyond Imagination. The cast actually seriously considered making Blue Harvest when a series of sandstorms halted filming for several days. Lucas went as far as to write an entire script in 2 days. Blue Harvest is actually a reference to the 1929 novel Red Harvest, which was the inspiration for the film Yojimbo, which itself was an inspiration for the Star Wars films. In one draft of Episode 6: Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda were actually going to leave the Force and return to their physical bodies again to either assist Luke in his confrontation with Darth Vader, or to join him at the celebration on Endor. Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace was actually labeled The Dollhouse when it was originally shipped to theaters. Not a single physical clone trooper outfit has actually been worn in any of the production of the films. Every clone trooper seen in Star Wars films was created with CGI. The communicator that Qui-Gon Jinn uses is actually an altered Gillette Sensor XL, a woman's razor. Samuel L. Jackson claims that the words, quote, "bad motherfucker" were engraved in the lightsaber he used while making the Star Wars films. While filming many lightsaber scenes, Ewan McGregor kept getting carried away and making the sounds and weapons for himself. These had to be removed in post-production. Tupac Shakur, a famous rapper, actually auditioned for the role of Mace Windu. The waterfalls cascading around the capital city of Naboo are actually salt. They use a special effect while pouring grains of salt into water. The members of the band NSYNC actually made a cameo in Star Wars Episode 2 to appease George Lucas' daughters. However, the scene was eventually cut from the final version of the film. Ahmed Best, the actor who plays Jar Jar Binks, is actually seen here making an appearance out of costume in the background of a scene. The same goes here in this picture with Anthony Daniels, who plays C-3PO. George Lucas's daughter, Katie Lucas, appears as a Twi'lek dancer in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Her sister, Amanda Lucas, also appears as a background character in that movie, and their brother, Jet Lucas, appears as a Padawan in the Jedi Archives. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was actually labeled The Bridge on film reels when it was shipped to theaters. While standing in on the Galactic Senate, Jar Jar Binks actually votes in favor of Order 66, leading to the destruction of the Jedi and the rise of the Galactic Empire. Even more reason to hate Jar Jar. The top-down shot of a severely burned Anakin Skywalker near the end of Episode 3 has the character framed within the symbol for the Galactic Empire. The in-universe name for the genre of music heard during the Cantina scene is, quote, jizz. Anakin Skywalker meets 6 of the 9 diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder, which is one more that is required to make the diagnosis. Lucasfilm actually has someone on staff whose full-time job is just to maintain the Star Wars canon. ET's alien species are actually part of the Star Wars universe. A delegation of these aliens can be seen in the Galactic Senate. In an early draft of the Star Wars movies, R2-D2 speaks standard English. It's actually kind of a jerk. George Lucas came up with the name R2-D2 while filming American Graffiti. A member of the sound crew asked him to retrieve reel number 2 of the second dialogue track, which in parlance would be, "Could you get me R2-D2?" The phrase, "I have a bad feeling about this," has been said at least once in every film. There is an actual island nation called Niue that accepts collectible Star Wars coins as a form of currency. Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader have been played by 6 different people: David Prowse, James Earl Jones, Bob Anderson, Sebastian Shaw, Jake Lloyd, and Hayden Christensen. A disco version of the Star Wars theme music became the #1 hit in America in 1977 and actually held that spot for 2 weeks. And finally, our final fact: in 1978, Darth Vader's actor actually spoiled the ending to Empire Strikes Back in a local newspaper a full 2 years before the movie was released. He told them that he was actually the father of Luke Skywalker, ruining the movie for many, but fortunately back then there wasn't the internet and this was not widespread. It was kind of a rumor, so not really everyone believed it. So the movie turned out all right. But there you go, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are as hyped for the new Star Wars as I am. If you guys are, make sure you guys drop a like on this video. Also, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel for more of these videos in your sub box daily. As always, guys, have a great day. Remember, this came time somewhere, and I'll speak with you again shortly. Peace out.